Obviously a disappointing result last week, and disappointing performance, but the guys have reacted very well this week, I think. It's been a really good training week, quite intense, lots of travel to get back. Some challenges from that point of view, but all back safe and sound now. And just looking forward to getting back onto the field with the guys this weekend. And I'm sure AJ can speak more to that than I can. But just very excited about the challenge that lies ahead.
Just to follow on that, it's nice to be back in America. As Gary said, the travel went well, but just feel from my own personal perspective, it's just good to be amongst the players, amongst the squad. Been 2 years since I have been back in the environment. A lot of new faces, so there's been a lot of learning on the field and off the field for me, and getting to know everyone. And the game was obviously disappointing, but it's behind us now. Really excited for the upcoming fixture. Prep has been great, intensity's been great, focus has been good. So just happy with sort of the cohesion we've built this week, and ready to go now.
Awesome. Thanks, gents. So guys, I'm just going to go down my list in order. So we'll start with Alex. Alex, if you want to jump in, let us know who your question's for. And again, happy for you to address both if you'd like.
Great. Thanks, Alina. Hi, guys. Thanks for taking the time. This is for both of you. What you saw mostly from the sideline, given that you could probably say 27 points were given to Canada through penalties and an interception. Would it be fair to say penalties and offensive execution would be top of the list this week? And what are you expecting this weekend on that front?
Can start with Gary, and then AJ if you want to chime in after.
Look, I think our overall execution will be top of the list, just in terms of going out and doing what we wanted to do and what we plan to do. As you correctly say, Alex, we handed them quite a few points on a platter from our own errors. And that's obviously something that is reasonably easy to fix. We can fix that quite quickly. But more importantly, from our point of view, there's a style that we want to play. There's a brand of rugby we want to play. There's certain things that we wanted to execute, and we didn't feel that we executed very much of that last week. So from our point of view, that's really important that we get out there and fix it. As AJ says, back home in front of the American crowd now on a very somber day, and there's lots of motivation for us to want to go out and play, other than what it means to us off the field as well. So from our point of view, I think, as AJ says, there's been a lot of intensity at training. There's been a lot of been a lot of focus for us to get back to doing the things that we do really well, and that's all that we can control is getting back to doing the things that we can do best. And by and large, as a group, we didn't do that last week, so we'll just go out and fix it.
I would just say on that, I think from the American perspective, it is very easy to just go, we gave them points, and I think for us, understanding sort of what we were feeling and what we were going through in those moments in the game, where it was either individual execution or sort of team execution that we didn't fire. So, we were disappointed with our performance, but then because of the sort of, I guess, pressure that Canada put us under, we put ourselves into a spiral. And that's go back to even when I was on the pitch, just my own energy and sort of my connections with my teammates wasn't very good. So that has been a massive sort of lesson for me and moving forward. So kind of questioned our connection and our togetherness going into this weekend. And that's something that I'm pretty confident that we will definitely be stronger at. And when you say give them points, no, we'll handle the situations, we'll handle the momentum a lot better, and we'll see where that takes us.
Great. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, guys. All right, Chris Jones, I've got you next. Let us know who your question is for. Thank you.
Hi, guys. Gary, for you first. In cricket parlance, is there scoreboard or 0-13?
In cricket parlance, your scoreboard's not working. I didn't hear your question. Sorry, Chris. Repeat that again. I didn't hear you.
Sure. I said, yeah, in cricket parlance, it's scoreboard pressure, isn't it? So are you looking at this game as a 0-0 start or a 0 -13?
I personally think it's dangerous to do that. I just think we've got to look at it at the beginning of a rugby game, and we've got to go out and do a job. I mean, there's nothing we can do to get 13 points in the wave of a wand. You know, we're going to have to build, excuse the pun, an innings. So, I mean, you know, we're going to have to start. There'll be a restart, and from the restart, there'll be, you know, 20 to 25 opportunities for us to gain the ball and do something with it. And that's what we've got to do. You know, we've literally got to worry about that. I think if we're worrying about what the score is, or it's -13 or whatever the case may be, is it's slightly irrelevant. We've just got to go out there and we've got to play an 80-minute game of rugby, and you know, it's going to start on minute 1 and it's going to end on minute 80. And unfortunately, the score needs to be a certain score. As in cricket, in terms, if we're behind in the first innings, we've got to make that up. But I don't think there's anything we've got to do differently. You know, I mean, we've just got to, you know, we've got to be focused on what we do. And, you know, as AJ says, you know, there'll be opportunities for us to, you know, to execute certain plays at certain times. And, you know, the cohesion within the teammates and within the group we trust at the moment, and we'll have to go out and do that and just take the opportunities a lot better than we took them last week. That's all we really need to do. There's physically nothing we can do about what the situation is. So I wouldn't even know what to do about the fact that, you know, there's a slight deficit on the scoreboard, other than the fact that what we focus on in any case, which is, you know, we've got another play. We want to execute it as well as possible. We want to keep Canada out if possible. But, you know, as AJ has alluded to, you know, they deserve some credit. You know, they brought the heat, they brought the pressure, and you know, this time we have to react a little bit better to it. That's as simple as it is.
Thanks, Gary. AJ, before you set off on this long journey, we had a chat, and you thought it might be quite a demanding traveling experience. Could you just a short précis of how you ended up at St. John's and how much easier this week has been in contrast? And secondly, decision making when you know that you have to score a certain number of points. The pressure is maybe just to kick to the corner and not take the points. Is that something that you are going to have to discuss with the team collectively before you go on the pitch, so you're not being shouted at by your teammates?
I'll answer the second one first. Points wise, I think it's hot in Denver. As Gary said, we had opportunities last week with the heat here. I think it's going to be a high scoring game either way. So whether we have to take our chances, and then defensively we've got to be pretty sharp. And I think our discipline has to be spot on too. And just trust in what we're doing defensively. You know, Peter Nelson is a very good kicker, and I think their game plan is obviously going to be sort of tick away at that. So our defense will have to be on it and clean, and then our attack just execution has to be better. So whatever way the points go, I think, listen, every time we've played Canada, it's a high scoring game. In my recollection, the games I've played probably in the last, like, I'd say 3 years, not 3 years, I haven't played in 2 years, but there's always a lot of points on the board. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the opportunities. And then in terms of the first question, like, you know, you don't like making excuses. The travel did go well. My prep wasn't good, and as a result, the product on the pitch wasn't good from my own individual perspective. So I'm pretty focused on just my own performance and doing what I can do to help the team, and that is giving everything I can this weekend. And I know it's sort of the feeling is mutual amongst the squad after our sort of chat we had Monday. There was a silence in the room, like we got smacked in the face. It was humbling, and maybe we deserved that as a group. There's a lot of new faces in here that I don't even know, and I'm still getting to know. And I think this is the truest test of a man's character, is when things don't go your way, how do you respond? So yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes and see how far we can go in the space of a week.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Chris. All right, we'll jump down now to John Fitzpatrick. John, just make sure to let us know who your question's for. And again, happy for you to address both with one.
Great, thank you. Coach Gold, big try from Taveti Lopetti at the end of the game to really eat away at that point differential. What did you see from him during the game and during training camp to give him a shot in the starting 15 for Saturday's game?
Question. I mean, you know, that's the balance that AJ is talking about. You know, this is the time of period, you know, halfway between the last World Cup and this World Cup. Actually, it would have been earlier, but we haven't played any rugby in 2 years, where you want to be blooding some youngsters, guys who've put their hands up at college or at club level. And, you know, and Lopetti's one of those young kids who's done really, really well. He's been on our radar for a couple of years, and unfortunately, because of what's been going on, we haven't been able to pick him. So, you know, I was actually reflecting on it with the coaches last night. You know, what a difficult time period it is for coaches at the moment now, because I would imagine there'd be other coaches as well, potentially tier one, who get to play a lot more rugby, but other coaches who want to be blooding youngsters, giving them, you know, 2 dozen games before the next Rugby World Cup so that they can get some international experience. But at the same time, we're in pressure situations like this. So, you know, we've got a handful of young guys who put their hand up over the last couple of years, who deserve to be in camp, who deserve to be looked at. You know, Christian Dyer being one of them, Lopetti being another one, Mike Dabelis being another one. But unfortunately, they're young and they're still learning their trade. And then it brings the other challenges, like the fact that, you know, your leader and your experienced head like AJ hasn't met these guys yet, because we haven't been together for 2 years. But so to answer your question, I mean, we've seen a huge amount of potential in Peter. I mean, we think he's a real, genuine, raw talent. But he's got to spend some time in the middle. He's got to spend time around guys like, you know, AJ and Cam and the experienced guys, and he'll learn as that goes along. And yeah, I think he's a phenomenal kid. I think he's a phenomenal player. He's been really well coached at college level at St. Mary's, so he comes with a good pedigree. And you know, we want to give these young guys an opportunity and a chance to prove themselves. So yeah, I think he's a committed kid. I think he loves the game, and I think he's really enjoying being here in this environment.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, John. Did you have anything for AJ? Are you good?
We can keep it moving.
Cool, thanks. All right, we've got Neil Davidson next. Neil, feel free to jump in.
Thank you. My question's for Gary. Gary, thanks for taking the time. It's Neil Davidson from the Canadian Press in Toronto speaking. I'm just wondering, of the changes you've made to your starting lineup, can you say which ones are injury related, if any?
Luke Carty's carrying an injury and wasn't worth risking. Luke would have been on the bench this weekend, and so we didn't want to risk Luke on the bench. And Luke is the only one that's injury related. Yeah.
Thanks, Neil. All right, Preston, I've got you next.
Hey, Coach, and hey, AJ, good to talk to y'all again. As you're preparing for this match, how do you balance the aspects of the game where you can say, hey, we could improve on this, we could do this better, with those moments where sometimes that's just how the ball bounces, and sometimes those are the momentum changes. So how do you deal with both of those heading into the next match?
I'll let AJ answer first.
Yeah, I think that's something we spoke about as a group together. It's just like there's definitely a feeling that things didn't go our way. People weren't happy with their own individual performance, and sort of we kind of turned in and we didn't pull together and sort of fix it as a team. So that one is something that will take time. We've definitely spoke about it. We've highlighted it. Everyone's aware of it. And it's just a normal thing. Like if something doesn't go well in the game for you, at one particular moment, it's about just sort of sacking that off and getting on with the next job. So that's been one of the mentalities and ways that we can sort of build each other up. Is there stuff to improve on? Absolutely. Like there's probably been a good bit of detail put in this week in our defense, with our attack. Not too much, but enough that we can absorb and definitely execute better this weekend. So I think the preparation the last 2 days in terms of our kicking game and our transition has been very good. So there's a lot more accountability, and yeah, again, we're just, I think, excited to just go out and sort of put that together now. This is the opportunity to do it. It's all well and good fixing it and training, but now it's about delivering it on the day.
Thanks, AJ.
Thanks, guys. All right, so I think we can go down just a little bit more. So Alex, I've got you next if you want to jump in.
Great, thanks. Guys, Gary, you alluded to this already. September 11th is when the game's on. The USA has played on September 11th before, 10 years ago. But both of you guys, if you could talk to what that means to the team, and also how do you manage sort of the emotions surrounding that, because you've got a rugby game, you've got a job to do. So sort of how that balances. Thanks.
The first thing from my point of view is, first thing that's really important is to be very respectful towards the American born and bred players and staff that are here. Again, it was an American tragedy, and I know that some of us, obviously are not born and bred American. So, from our point of view, it's just to be respectful towards those people. And, what happened to the USA as a country, I mean, I think for everybody in the world is a disaster. Alex, the situation is it happened 20 years ago, and a handful of these guys were like 5 or 8 years old. So, interestingly enough, the raw emotion of what you and I witnessed, with, as already grown adults, and what we saw probably isn't as significant to the youngsters of today. But it's a very somber day. It's a very memorable day. I mean, it's a day we'll respect. But as you say, ultimately, there's a rugby game to be played, and just like September 11th and unfortunately any other tragedy, life goes on, and we, the best way we can honor it is by putting up a good performance and bringing a smile to the people's faces who are all going to come down to Glendale this weekend. And, that's what we intend to do.
Thanks, Gary. John, I know you said you had another question. If you want to jump in now.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, this question for Coach and for AJ. What positives did you take away from the game, and what do you think are some areas that you can attack Canada on Saturday?
I'll just say that I think the way we finished the game, that was the positive. The way with all the errors, mental lapses in the game, and we had opportunity after opportunity and coughed up the ball, and then that was sort of last play of the game. Everyone knew what was at stake. Going in with a 20-point deficit over a 13-point deficit, and the way even just the execution wasn't perfect from line out to delivery, but we got on with it. We supported each other. We ran hard for each other. We cleared out aggressively. We kind of stuck to our shape and our system in that area of the field, and we executed. And that's massive. That's massive. So that was a big positive for me, and that's what we want to bring this Saturday.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Preston. I think I would have said the same thing. I think there were other things during the game that were positive. I think the way we started the game was really positive. We started strong. Our set piece functioned. Our scrum functioned. When we concentrated, our maul functioned. And as Ad says, when our back's against the wall, we didn't capitulate at the end of the game. I mean, we stuck to our structures. We held onto the ball through phases, actually scored a really good try. So there's a lot of confidence within the group that we can do it. And we just need to apply ourselves. And following on what Age says, I'm excited about this weekend and seeing the guys do just that.
Thanks, gents. Preston, I know you've got one last one. Feel free to jump in.
Awesome, Gary. This one's for you. with Ruben de Haas coming back, even just for a little bit to MLR, and then Marcel Brockie coming back and signing in MLR and playing more or spending more time in the US, are you going to put more emphasis on that, given the lack of an America's Rugby Championship or Challenge or Pacific Nations Cup, and not having that set schedule? Is there more emphasis going to be on these players, I guess, having more time together in that competition, and so everyone's not so spread out, in Southern Hemisphere, across Europe, and then, all over the US?
It's a difficult question to answer, actually. I find myself in a completely different position to other international coaches where, you take countries like Ireland, New Zealand, South Africa, well, not South Africa, but Ireland, New Zealand, and Australia at this stage. England, beg your pardon, was the country I was thinking about, where you have to be based in the country to play your international rugby. We don't have that luxury. And no, not especially. I don't especially want the guys to necessarily come back to the MLR and have to be here. I wouldn't, for example, want AJ to leave the environment of a Sale to come back to the MLR, and because Sale's just such a high performing environment. He's in such a great coaching environment, and playing with so many good players and playing against so many good players every week. So that's a benefit as well. I mean, it is what it is. It's actually irrelevant, what my views were. It's slightly easier if everybody's in the MLR from a selection point of view, and where it comes to issues around Reg 9 and being able to have the availability of the player. But I would never want to stop a player from playing at the highest level of rugby that he possibly can play. And the MLR, whilst I'm a massive advocate and a fan for the MLR, I think it's still got a way to go. I think, the level of the game is with respect, it's not what the Premiership is at the moment, or the top 14 yet. And so those guys coming out of those environments are getting very, very much high intensity rugby. So it is what it is. I mean, it's great that players are coming back to the MLR. Don't misunderstand me. Please don't misunderstand that at all. I'm delighted that they're coming back. I'm especially delighted that they're coming back from, other corners of the globe. And the more Eagles players that are coming back to the MLR, the better it's going to make the league as well. So from that view, it's great. But no, I'm not doing anything especially to try and encourage that. It is what it is. Unfortunately, that's the landscape that's out there at the moment, and we'll deal with it the way we have to deal with it at this moment in time. Unless there's some benefactor who wants to put hundreds of millions into the MLR, and that can entice AJ to come back, because that's what he's going to need. He's going to need seven figures, and then you can get Edge back into the mix.
Yeah, I'll start fundraising. But thanks, Coach, and thanks, AJ. Best of luck this weekend. Can't wait to watch.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, appreciate it.
All right, so guys, last two questions. Chris Jones, I know you've got one, and then Alex, you'll close us off after that.
Funny you should be talking about money, Gary. The 12s. Can it be any good for you guys? I know AJ's thinking, Christ, there's £1 million in it for me playing in one of the 8 teams, but it's great. Yeah, but does it? I mean, there's so much room in the schedule to put it into anyway, so it's bound to be a success. But can I just get your gut feeling?
I genuinely don't even know, Chris. I haven't even thought about it. I mean, so focused this weekend on Canada. It's another opportunity to play rugby. It's a higher speed level of rugby. What they're trying to do is, 15s are trying to do it with 50-22s and goal line dropouts to try and create the game to be a little bit more of a spectacle. And obviously that's the reason why there's 10s and now there's 12s. I don't know enough about it, honestly, to offer a comment. I genuinely don't know enough about it. Again, if there's rugby and we've got Americans playing rugby and it affords an opportunity for American qualified players to play rugby, I'm all for it. But I don't know enough about the intricacies of it, Chris. Again, I don't see it necessarily having to step on anyone's toes. The 10s last year that they had done in Bermuda didn't step on anyone's toes. So, I don't think anything's going to really replace 15s, and it is what it is, but I don't know enough about it.
No, I don't know there's going to be massive coaches fees either. So I'll keep you informed, Gary. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Chris. All right, Alex, feel free to, last question, you can jump in.
All right, great, thanks. For both of you, although from different perspectives, Gary, you had a wholesale change in your front row, shifted things around a little bit. Joe T in at prop, which he's played before, but kind of a change. What are you looking to get from this front row? And as for you, I mean, the X factor that Joe T specifically brings, how does that help you in directing the attack and trying to get some tries for the team?
So the background behind the front row was that before we started this Canadian series, we decided and agreed about a rotation, and that's what we agreed upon beforehand, that we felt that we've got the strength and depth in the front row to be able to try a rotation, and that's what we were doing. That was a decision that was made beforehand. I think it's very, very important from a coaching staff point of view and from our point of view is that we don't let the emotions of a result change your mind and actually go back on your word. So it is a rotation. One of the reasons for the rotation was because the poor guys had such a nightmare travel, and I think AJ has been very humble in not wanting to put up excuses about what the travel has been like for these guys, which has been absolutely horrendous. So it was giving them an opportunity, with their late arrival into camp, giving guys a little bit of an opportunity to acclimatize where we could take that opportunity, hence the reason why AJ was on the bench as well. And we wanted to, give a nice competitive environment. The decision was made, even when Joe went to Lyon, that Joe wanted to move across to tight head. So we're supporting that decision as well. He's actually training and he was playing at Lyon. If you saw the game that they played against Clermont the week before he came over, Joe came on at tight head there as well. So that is also still work in progress. But, a guy like Joe and his ball carrying abilities, what he can do around the park, matched with if he is able to step up to the plate and make it a tight head, is very exciting for us. It gives us an opportunity for another youngster in KP, in Capelli Pafaletti, to be able to step up to the plate as well. And then obviously the incredible David Inui. So we've got so many youngsters that, as I said last time, if they're good enough, they're old enough, and we want to give them an opportunity. But there is that balance. There is that balance between playing youngsters who don't have that experience and learning how to win rugby games. So, that's the conundrum we find ourselves in at the moment. So I'm hoping that those three will bring us huge amount of energy. And excited to see them get a start, which they so richly deserved.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap us up. I'll send out the recording afterwards. If you have any follow-ups we didn't get to, just shoot me an email and we'll find a way to get to that. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.